How's it going?
Going all right.
Okay.
A little slow going, but I think we're getting it a little bit.
We're out a little more than we should be. Okay, let me see the hammer you used. The hammerhead, see the hammer? See how it's rounded like that? But this hammer is not so good on the...
The machines roared back to life. The rust vanished, and history itself seemed to rise from the ashes. Week after week, millions were glued to their screens as Rick Dale and his crew at Rick's Restorations transformed rusty relics into dazzling treasures on American Restoration. For 6 explosive seasons, Rick Dale and his crew at Rick's Restorations didn't just fix antiques, they brought American history back to life. Week after week, millions watched in awe as rusty gas pumps, soda machines, and classic motorcycles were reborn into jaw-dropping treasures on the channel's American Restoration. Then, without warning, it all collapsed. Rick, his family, and his team vanished from the spotlight, leaving fans shocked and desperate for answers. What really happened behind the scenes? Today, we pull back the curtain on the startling truth behind the sudden end of American Restoration. From humble beginnings on Pawn Stars to becoming a cultural phenomenon, Rick Dale's story is nothing short of extraordinary. Long before the fame, he was a craftsman in a small Las Vegas shop, quietly perfecting the skills that would one day mesmerize a nation. His rise to television fame didn't start on a flashy stage. It began in the back room of a Las Vegas pawn shop. In 2009, Pawn Stars exploded onto the History Channel, sparking a nationwide obsession with vintage treasures. Rick Harrison and his family drew crowds for their sharp deals, but when it came to restoring antiques, there was only one call to make: Rick Dale. Rick's first appearance in the unforgettable episode Time Machines didn't just showcase old items, it unveiled something far more captivating. Audiences were mesmerized by the transformation itself, watching rusty relics breathe new life under his hands. History Channel executives saw it immediately. Here was a master who could turn forgotten junk into museum-quality masterpieces, and television gold was inevitable. What reality TV had been starving for was staring it right in the face: raw authenticity. This wasn't some actor auditioning for fame. It was a true craftsman shaping and restoring treasures since the age of 9, when his father dragged a rusty bicycle out of a dumpster and dared him to fix it. On October 25, 2010, American Restoration exploded onto screens, instantly becoming a cultural phenomenon. The cameras followed Rick Dale's world at Rick's Restorations. His wife Kelly, the business brain behind the operation, his son Tyler, his brother Ron, the relentless picker, and the unforgettable crew, Brettley, Rick's stepson, and Cowboy, the notoriously grumpy metal polishing wizard. Every day was a spectacle, every restoration a story, and every personality a force of nature. What made American Restoration more than a show wasn't just the antiques, it was the heart behind them. Rick Dale's bond with his son Tyler became a storyline in its own right, a father's dream of passing down a legacy. The crew's playful banter felt raw and real, their struggles with decades-old relics tangible and gripping. At its peak, the show drew 2.9 million viewers weekly and reached audiences in over 87 countries. Celebrity clients lined up at Rick's Restorations: Billy Joel, Sammy Hagar, Jason Mraz, magicians Lance Burton and David Copperfield, even NASCAR's Greg Biffle. One episode, Pick, Pawn, and Polish, pulled in a staggering 6.5 million viewers, the highest rating in History Channel history at the time. Week after week, Rick became a household name, the face of vintage American restoration. And the projects? No two were alike. From a 1946 Harley-Davidson and a vintage Coca-Cola machine to antique gas pumps, jukeboxes, barber chairs, even a NASA helmet, the transformations were nothing short of mesmerizing. Rick's shop was a hive of chaos and genius, 6 to 12 projects alive at once, each one a ticking bomb of customer deadlines, missing parts, and 70-year-old machines that refused to die quietly. Crossovers with other History Channel hits became the norm. Rick dragging busted junk to the Counting Cars crew, teaming up with American pickers, weaving himself into a growing web of vintage Americana. The network had built a universe, and Rick Dale was at its center. But with the spotlight came pressure. Producers demanded drama. timelines accelerated. The raw, honest craft that made American restoration shine was being reshaped into something else. Something louder, faster, scripted. The seeds of collapse were being sown while the cameras rolled. Here's the truth networks never tell you. Reality TV isn't real. And what started as a genuine glimpse into Rick Dale's artistry slowly became a polished illusion, a show masquerading as a documentary while quietly eroding the very authenticity fans had fallen in love with. Behind the glossy veneer of reality TV, the truth was far messier and far more calculated. Industry insiders revealed that Rick's Restorations wasn't just a shop, it was a stage. Produced by Left Field Pictures, the same company behind Pawn Stars, the show ran on a formula. Scripted conversations, distorted timelines, and manufactured tension designed to make every restoration feel urgent, even epic. Fans started noticing the cracks. Customers appeared twice, once pitching their item, then again reacting to the finished product, exposing the heavy hand of producers orchestrating every moment. What began as a celebration of craftsmanship slowly gave way to forced drama, family arguments, crew squabbles, and conflicts that never existed in real life. One moment blew the illusion wide open. Rick's own brother, Ron, appeared on Pawn Stars selling a Coca-Cola machine, pretending he had no connection to Rick, only to secretly steer the crew toward a staged restoration. Fans knew the truth instantly. The scene was pure cross-promotion, a calculated stunt that crushed any remaining sense of authenticity. And this was just the beginning. Another episode, centered on a golf ball slot machine, hinted at how far producers would go to manufacture tension, leaving devoted viewers questioning what, if anything, on the show was real. The original machine the customer brought in was beyond saving, scrapped before it ever touched Rick's workbench, but the cameras rolled anyway. Behind the scenes, Rick tracked down an identical model from LA Slots in California, had it shipped to Las Vegas, and swapped it in, creating a flawless illusion of restoration for viewers. What appeared on screen as a miraculous comeback was in reality a carefully orchestrated switch. Insiders reveal the full extent of the deception. Producers controlled every move. Rick couldn't take on his regular clients. Every customer on the show was hand-picked, every price negotiated by producers. And while the TV audience marveled at the restorations, Rick never actually pocketed a dime for the work being broadcast. Reality, it seems, was more scripted than the viewers ever knew. Behind the glitz of the cameras, Rick and his crew weren't just restorers, they were actors in a carefully scripted show. Sure, the pay per episode was higher than anything they could earn running the shop on their own, but it came at a price. Creative control vanished. Every decision, every angle, every restoration move was dictated by producers. Rick's craft had been hijacked, and with it came deadlines that were impossible, absurdly short, and completely unrealistic. On screen, the team raced against the clock, sweat dripping, sparks flying, while viewers cheered tension that was entirely manufactured. Experts in the trade shook their heads. True restoration can't be rushed without ruining the work, but producers thrived on the illusion of urgency. Drama wasn't incidental, it was engineered. Characters like Leonard were thrown into the mix purely to spark conflict, turning what was once a celebration of skill into a spectacle of fake fights and forced personalities. For fans who cared about the craft, the show had become unrecognizable, no longer about restoring history, but about manufacturing tension. By seasons 5 and 6, the backlash was relentless. Online forums exploded. "I don't care who bought a dog or who's in trouble at school," one fan raged, "and I certainly don't care about any wedding nonsense. I thought this was about restoration, not picking out a dress." Another wrote, "You just watch the item go from old and rusty to brand new. If you like grown men bickering about nothing, this is your show." Critics from the restoration world were merciless. One electronic engineer specializing in vintage videotape recorders slammed the show. It's horrifying. They strip away every original detail, repaint in garish colors, swap out gears and buttons, ruin the fonts, and then charge absurd prices for it. Amid the storm, Rick Dale was cornered. 30 years of building a respected restoration empire, mastering decades of craft, and suddenly his every decision was dictated by producers chasing ratings over authenticity. The very art he devoted his life to was being rewritten for television, and the man at the center had no control. The fire that fueled American restoration, the raw passion, the craftsmanship, the thrill of bringing history back to life was being smothered. And finally, Rick Dale snapped. After 6 seasons of producers twisting deadlines, scripting drama, and turning his shop into a staged soap opera, Rick hit the breaking point. When the History Channel came knocking for season 7, he did the unthinkable. He walked away. Millions of dollars vanished in a single decision, but what he sacrificed in money, he reclaimed in dignity. Insiders revealed the truth. Rick was done being an actor in his own shop, done watching his craft turn into saccharine sitcom antics. He wanted his shop back, his customers back, his control back. Then he made it even more explosive. He went public. Posting a heartfelt video online, Rick thanked fans for their loyalty and urged them to voice their frustration on the American Restoration website. It wasn't just a walkout, it was a rebellion. The show would never be the same. The video hit like a gut punch, a man on the verge of tears, a craftsman who loved his work more than anything, yet could no longer practice it under the History Channel's rules. Their response was ruthless. No negotiations, no compromises, just a cold corporate pivot. Rick was out, and season 7 would arrive with a completely reinvented show. But this wasn't just about Rick. His entire crew, faces fans had grown to love, were gone too. Whispers filled the industry. Declining ratings, clashes with clients, a difficult star. None of it mattered. The truth was far simpler and far more explosive. A battle between authentic craftsmanship and a network obsessed with spectacle. And the stakes? Monumental. Reality TV salaries can soar to $50,000 per episode. Rick walked away from it all for one thing: integrity. Money couldn't buy his conscience. Rick Dale walked away from over $1 million a year. 26 episodes per season, a thriving show built entirely around his shop, his skills, his family, and he just said no. Integrity over income. For 2 years, the History Channel wrestled with a dilemma. How do you continue a hit show when its heart refuses to play along? Their answer would shock the audience and destroy the show's soul. January 1st, 2016, American Restoration returned, but nothing was the same. Gone was the singular story of one man's craft. Instead, 5 unrelated shops across the country took center stage: Bodie Stroud, Dale Waxler, Andy Bowman Jr., Steve Hale, and Bob Halliday, each with their own style, their own story, their own chaos. Fans didn't just notice the change, they recoiled, confused, angry, betrayed. What had once been a show about passion and craftsmanship had become something unrecognizable. The show fans had cherished for 6 seasons was unrecognizable, ripped apart and rebuilt into something cold, mechanical, and soulless. The backlash was instantaneous. Where once viewers marveled at soda machines, slot machines, motorcycles, and gas pumps brought back to life, now it was all cars, trucks, and motorcycles. Same old rigs, same old engine sounds, boring, repetitive, and indistinguishable from every other automotive show on cable. But it wasn't just the projects that failed, it was the heart. Rick Dale and his family had built more than a shop. They'd built a world. Viewers didn't just watch the restorations, they knew Tyler, Ron, Cowboy, and Brettley. They'd seen Tyler grow up before their eyes. They'd laughed at Ron's laid-back charm, cringed at Cowboy's grumpy perfectionism, felt the pulse of a real working family. The reboot? None of that. No chemistry, no history, no heartbeat. Jumping between 5 different shops turned every episode into a fractured jumble, leaving the story, once intimate and compelling, shattered. The soul of the show was gone, replaced with empty metal and hollow engines. Just as viewers were settling into the rhythm of one shop, one team, one craft, the show ripped the rug out under them. Abrupt cuts hurled audiences into entirely different garages, with strangers working on projects nobody had context for. Continuity vanished, storylines evaporated. There was no reason to care about a single restoration or a single craftsman. One fan's reaction summed it up. "I was in shock. No connection. Just vehicles scattered across multiple garages. Jump on the project. Someone should have been fired for changing everything." The reboot didn't just confuse, it stripped away the soul of the show. Early seasons had been a masterclass in craftsmanship, guiding viewers step by step through restoration, teaching techniques, celebrating problem solving, and revealing the heart of vintage Americana. Now, snapshots of before and after, with almost nothing in between. Even loyal viewers willing to give it a shot found they couldn't stay invested. Viewers didn't just notice the change, they tuned out in droves. Forum posts were brutal. "I really didn't like any of the new people here and came close to turning it off," one fan confessed. "I'll give it one more before throwing the switch." And the ratings told the same story History Channel didn't want to hear. Without Rick Dale and his family, American restoration had lost its soul. The magic that once drew 6.5 million fans to pick, pawn, and polish had vanished overnight. History Channel tried everything to resurrect it. High production values, eye-catching projects, celebrity tie-ins like George Clinton's 1920s piano, David Copperfield's museum treasures, even NASCAR trophies commissioned by Kyle Busch and Marcus Smith. None of it stuck. The show's Wikipedia page is a quiet monument to its fall. Seasons 1 through 6 are meticulously documented, brimming with episode notes and character bios. Season 7? A ghost. A reboot so poorly received it's as if the television world collectively decided to pretend it never happened. By April 1st, 2016, it was over. Just 3 months after the Season 7 premiere, American Restoration, the show that had dominated the History Channel, drawn international fans, and made Rick Dale a household name, was dead. Gone. The network had thought they could bottle lightning twice, strip away the family, the personality, the soul, and still capture the magic. They couldn't. One insider called it mutual destruction by brinksmanship. Rick wouldn't compromise his integrity. History Channel wouldn't relinquish control. The result? A beloved show torn apart, a cultural touchstone lost, and the fans left watching the wreckage. Rick didn't stay in the ruins. Instead, he pivoted, leaving the shadow of reality TV behind. In Las Vegas, he launched My Best Font Forward Creations, a laser cut and embroidery business run largely by his wife, Kelly. Proof that sometimes the only way forward is to build something entirely your own. The glory days of full-throttle restorations are behind him. Now, Rick Dale's hands shape Christmas hangings, laser-cut decor, and custom embroidery, a far cry from the vintage treasures that made him a household name. He's also the author of Classic Soda Machines, a niche hit with a solid 4-star rating on Amazon. These days, Rick enjoys a quieter rhythm, consulting on collectibles, dabbling in metalwork, and crafting on a far smaller scale than the massive restorations that once defined his life. Social media tells the same story. Where once Rick dominated Twitter and YouTube, years have passed in silence. Instagram shows glimpses of his work, but nothing approaches the relentless, jaw-dropping projects of the History Channel era. Meanwhile, Kelly Dale has carved her own path. The once TV-famous wife has become a licensed realtor, occasionally hosting car shows and leveraging her fame to unlock doors in a completely new world. Tyler Dale, Rick's son and former heir apparent to the restoration empire, has honed his skills in woodworking, welding, and metalwork, forging his own identity in a family legacy that refuses to fade quietly. The show may be over, but the Dale family's story is far from finished, just transformed. Tyler tied the knot with interior designer Hai Lee in 2022, and the couple seems to have settled into a quiet life in Las Vegas. His Instagram now showcases his work as a fabricator, but the family business that once defined him is barely a shadow in his posts. Meanwhile, Brett Lee Otterman, Rick's stepson, turned post-show life into a success story. Leaning into his sandblasting and soda blasting expertise, he launched CleanWorks Mobile Media Blasting, which now runs 3 rigs and seems unstoppable. Bretley and his wife Steph raised 3 kids in Las Vegas, proving that a business born from TV exposure can survive and thrive on its own. Rick's brother, Rondale, took a different path, retreating into a quiet life of custom bicycles, almost entirely out of the spotlight. Cowboy, the endearing metal polisher, vanished from public view entirely. And whispers still linger. Could Rick's restorations ever rise from the ashes? For now, the shop lives on in memory, its legacy suspended between rumor and reality. Rick's story isn't unique. It's a template. Almost every long-running, unscripted series follows the same arc. Discover someone real, build a show around them, compress their reality until it resembles performance, and then replace them when the performance stops feeling fresh. The stars almost never see it coming. They think they're partners, but they're actually product. And that's the lesson buried in American restoration's strange, silent end. The people who look the most at home on reality TV are often the ones least equipped to survive its business model. Because the skills that make you great at your craft, patience, integrity, attention to detail, are the opposite of what makes you useful to a network chasing quarterly growth. You can be the best in the world at what you do and still be disposable the moment your name stops trending. Rick Dale was never supposed to be a celebrity. He was supposed to be a craftsman. The show made him both and then took one away. If you want to understand what fame actually costs the people who never asked for it, look at the reality stars who got everything they were promised, the exposure, the opportunity, the platform, and still came out the other side wondering what they traded for it. Rick's Restorations is still in Las Vegas. The work still gets done, but the cameras aren't coming back. And maybe that's not a tragedy. Maybe it's just the truth. Some things aren't meant to be performed. Some things only work when no one's watching. The show that was supposed to restore America's past ended up teaching a harder lesson, that even the most authentic thing you do can be turned into content, used up, and thrown away. And when that happens, no matter how much skill, you can't put it back together. Walking away from the empire he built from scratch, was that courage or a risk only Rick could pull off?